The Emperor of all mankind is one of the most important characters in all of the setting of Warhammer 40k, and he is most definitely one of the most controversial. Some believe him to be a noble man corrupted by a grim darkness of a far future, others believe him a jumpstart tyrant who only sought power. But regardless of what you think about Big E, you have to admit he was powerful, and there is no better example of his power than the Primarchs, his greatest creations. But what if I told you that they weren't his greatest creations? What if I told you that in fact, Lionel Johnson was not the first Primarch, and that was in fact something far before them, and something far more deadly. So join me, ladies and gentlemen, as we travel back to the early days of GW, as we take a look at the Emperor's first ever creation, one who proved so deadly and destructive that even the Emperor feared his wrath. Because in today's Warhammer 40k video, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be covering 40k's secret Primarch, the Angel. So strap in and buckle up, and let's get crack-a-lackin' on with today's video. So the story of the Angel comes from us from the 2003 book Inquisitor Conspiracies #2. Now what exactly is Inquisitor Conspiracies? Basically, it's a scenario guide for GMs in regards to the Inquisitor campaign, a TTRPG that GW released roughly around the early 2000s. And before I get anyone saying it, yes, I know it's all the way from way back when, yes, it's still canon. Unless GW comes out and says it's not canon, it's still canon. Just like elder human hybrids, I will not be denied my elf thighs! But my unwanted desires and delusions aside, whilst indeed the Inquisitor series is indeed a relatively early form of GW's lore, it's still well established, and again, it's still very much considered to be canon. Now, will that remain so in the future? Probably not. I can't see the future. But it's a really interesting story, and when I found out about it, I was like, yeah, no, I need to cover this. So before we can get to the implications of said lore, let's actually find out the story taken from Inquisitor Conspiracies. The story of the Angel begins during the time of the Reunification Wars, or specifically just right before it. The Emperor realized that there was a lot of bad evils out in the galaxy, but more specifically, he knew about chaos. And not just the 4 Chaos Gods. There were many other chaotic entities that had given the Emperor a run for his money, and he wanted something up his sleeve, a tool that would destroy them all. So the Emperor would begin the creation of his first ever entity, a proto-Primarch, if you will. Though yes, I know he was never actually called that, but I mean, come on, A plus B equals C, my guy. And lo and behold, the Emperor would craft the Angel. The Angel was twice as tall as a man, with mighty wings on its back, and a glowing halo of energy. It carried a massive flaming sword, and left a trail of blue fire whenever it went. It was capable of laying waste to cities and armies in seconds. While physical attacks could slow it down or stun it, they could not truly harm it. It was completely immune to psychic attack. Now from that description, I'm getting heavy biblical vibes. And while yes, many comparisons can be drawn between the Emperor and biblical stuff, this guy is ripped straight out of the Old Testament. Flaming halo, flaming sword, meant to destroy evil. Honestly, probably should have just called the chap Michael and get it over with. But whilst all chaos was meant to be destroyed, there was one foe in particular that the Emperor really wanted gone. That being the Demon Prince, Faragutiel, said to be an ancient demon that had terrorized Terra since the very dawn of mankind. One of the most eldritch and ancient of all the chaos entities, and someone who had managed to earn the eye of the Emperor. Eventually, however, the Emperor would unveil himself as the Lightning Lord and begin the unification wars of Terra. At that time, he managed to find the Demon Prince, but the Demon Prince, not wanting that smoke, decided to dip, and managed to escape off-world. From here, the Emperor would deploy his new weapon, and together they would endeavor to destroy this foe. From here, the Emperor would eventually track him down to the world known as Caris Cephalon, though that is his imperial name. At the time we don't know what its name was actually called. From there, with the help of the Angel, he would be able to defeat the Demon Prince, and seal it within the very earth of the planet itself. Yet while the Angel was incredibly effective in destroying the enemies of mankind, he was not a discriminant weapon, and harbored a rage far more vengeful than even the Emperor had imagined. For it is written that the Angel would come across a city of humankind, known as Koranus. He would lay against them a charge of not showing enough love and devotion to the Emperor, thus being unworthy of his protection and his mercy. From there, he would wipe out the entire population of Koranus in a single night of unholy bloodshed. But his wrath would not be sated with destruction of one city. The Angel continued as a righteous wrath made manifest, rapture incarnate, moving from settlement to settlement to settlement, until the entire planet was scoured of life. The Emperor, seeing this, was appalled. He knew that he created a tool of destruction, but what destruction he created, he could have never imagined. Thus, whilst he knew that the Angel was a potent weapon, he could not allow him to roam unchecked. Thus the Emperor made the decision to imprison the great weapon. He would take a piece of the corrupted flesh of the demon prince and place it within a magical coffin. From there, the angel would be lured into said coffin, where the Emperor would seal him shut, imprisoning him in an eternal slumber. Or what was supposed to be an eternal slumber. For it was the will of the Emperor that this entity be sent back to Terra, to be imprisoned underneath the ancient vaults, inside the imperial household. However, for one reason or another, the angel did not make it there. It's unknown what happened, but someone, or something, stole it away from the Emperor's grasp. And the whereabouts of this angel would be forgotten, but the Emperor would have to find his other creations, the Primarchs, and continue the battle of the Great Game. And so, like all things in human history, things that should not have been forgotten were forgotten. Things that should have been kept in place were misplaced, and weapons that should have remained sheathed for all eternity were soon to be unleashed. And what dire consequences they would have. Ladies and gentlemen, when you've been in this lore long enough, you'll realize that whenever something goes wrong, and something that should have stayed hidden becomes unhidden, and some demon or some other evil machination of eldritch horrible entity has been released, there are usually two culprits. Either the Adeptus Mechanicus trying to fit a flashlight into a toaster, or would it be a metal light into a toaster? Semantics. Or it's the Inquisition, adding another list to the reasons of why everyone thinks they're stupid. Turns out leaving humanity with unchecked power to their own devices ends up badly. Who would have thunk? And considering this involves the Emperor rather than the Omnissiah, the Inquisition is our reason. For millennia later on the world of Cariscephalon, there will be a radical Inquisitor by the name of Liechtenstein. Real quick TLDR for the Inquisitors. Inquisitors are divided into many different orders and sects, but there are two mains, the Radical and the Puritan. It is the Radical's ultimate goal to put the Emperor back on the throne, and thus they are willing to do anything and everything to ensure that he gets back up, by any means. Xenos, heretic, blood, no blood, whatever it is. Puritans, however, believe it's their duty to safeguard the Imperium, and keep everything very humanocentric. Now, this is a very broad definition, and sometimes there are radical inquisitors that have puritanical beliefs and vice versa. It's not important for this video. Basically, there are two groups of inquisitors, one willing to touch a bad thing, one willing not to touch a bad thing. Kinda irrelevant. Moving on. Basically, Liechtenstein wanted to gain access to the thrice done Librum Hereticus, believing that this chaos book held the secrets to raising the Emperor back from the dead, or something like that. But he's a human, and doesn't know much about demon nonsense. So he's going to get access to a demon. Lo and behold, he then frees a fragment of the demon's consciousness. And this demon is none other than the demon prince Faragutala, the same one that the Emperor and the Angel imprisoned many millennia ago. Surprising absolutely no one, except for the Inquisitor himself, the demon would trick him, and nearly succeeded into opening a gate to the warp that would have not only freed the demon, but launched a demonic invasion. Very bad. However, thankfully for everyone, not all the Inquisition is full of stupids, and lo and behold, Inquisitor Kessel manages to stop it. The demon prince Faragutala is free again thanks to the traitor Marlovich. Inquisitor Kessel almost stopped it some months ago, but it was too powerful for that. The Cariscephalon Institute of Ecclesiastical Antiquities contains many ancient tomes, penned thousands of years ago by dedicated followers of the Emperor, which speak of a weapon forged at the dawn of the Imperium, a weapon known as the Angel. You must find this weapon for me. It is the only thing with which I may defeat the demon now. I have many enemies on this world, and I must, by necessity, act through agents and underlings. You must act as my agents in this matter, and recover these tomes for me. I must have them all, if we are able to have any hope against defeating Faragutala. In the ensuing battle, it's believed by everyone that Faragora has either been destroyed or returned back to the Earth, but that's not the case. You see, during the whole battle, it managed to possess the body of a Psyker, but said body was destroyed. The spirit, however, was not, and thus it began to roam the planet of Cariscephalon looking for another host body, and eventually it would find a host, in an ecclesial cardinal, known as Kozdaka. Ah, irony, such a beautiful thing. Essentially from there, the demon then decides it's going to start playing some 3D chess. It then begins gathering a bunch of mortal followers, and then begins a demonic ritual to possess the cardinal full, which he does indeed do. From there, together with whatever cultists he can manage, he then begins laying ruin to the world. The Inquisition, having just unleashed demon hell upon a world, then decide that it's time to fight fire with fire. and thus they need to get the Angel. How they knew about the Angel? It's the Inquisition. They know about everything and nothing at the same time. Thus, inquisitorial agents are sent there. As to whether they are radical or Puritans, that depends on the campaign party at choice, or it could be a mixture of both. From there, they then begin searching for tomes looking for information about him, because whilst they know he's on the planet, they don't exactly know much about it. And they find what they're looking for in the Cephalon Institute of Ecclesiastical Antiquities. Lordy, that's a mouthful. From there, they find out how to wake the Angel, but more importantly, how to imprison it again. And thus, with this, they then go looking for the Angel. Luckily for them, however, it turns out that for one reason or another, the Angel was imprisoned on Cephalon, in a so-called Amethyst Palace. After looking in the coffin, it turns out, surprise, another inquisitorial party appears. If you're radical, these are puritanical. If you're puritanical, these are radical. And of course, a faction battle ensues. Because what's the fate of an entire civilian populace of a world when some good old-fashioned civil infighting? Well, what started off as a two-way battle soon then devolves into a three-way battle, when the Demon Prince arrives to destroy the ancient enemy. And, according to him, the only thing capable of destroying him. And considering there's no Big E or Primarchs, yeah, that's a fair shout. Realizing that fighting each other in the first place was a bloody stupid idea, the Inquisition then decides to work together. And, with one party fending off the demons long enough for the other to activate the coffin, the Angel is unleashed. And lo, the two ancient titans clashed, each one of them striking at the other. Each time a blow was struck home, it is said to have rent mighty craters in the earth. However, the Angel would triumph over the demon, driving its mighty flaming sword into its foul body. From there, it would rise into the air, triumphing in its might, before hurling the broken demon prince onto the ground. From there, Frater Gotala would be disposed of. It's unknown if he's banished back to the warp or he's dead, but given how this is the Emperor's creation, I'm gonna lean towards dead. But then that's probably not the case, because if the Angel could kill him, why not just kill him originally? Again, semantics. And lo and behold, the Angel then realizes that humanity, kinda lame, not gonna lie, and then decides to murder everyone. Millennia of imprisonment and a fatal flaw in its creation have led to the Angel becoming much more than it ever was conceived. Far from being the champion of humanity as was intended, it has come to the conclusion that all humans will eventually turn to chaos, and that it is better that they all be exterminated before they can do so. With the demon defeated, the warbands must now fight to stay alive long enough to get the Angel back into its coffin. Easier said than done. However, the Inquisitors are able to put aside their differences long enough to get him back locked up in the coffin, and lo, the Angel lay asleep once more. But what to do with such a powerful creature? Perhaps they should leave him where he is, forever secreting him underground, that he may not be disturbed. Forever known, but never to be used again. Left alone, as the weapon of the bygone age that he is. Created by a far more powerful, if not definitely more knowledgeable foe. But this is the Inquisition, so no, they're going to take the shiny for themselves. Some things are better bidden, for they cannot be destroyed, and yet they cannot be used. To quell one evil, you unleash an evil just as great, the evil of pride. This creature should have never existed, and yet it does. It will be safe away from prying eyes. You, ladies and gentlemen, would do well to get some rest. I expect you to report in full to the Conclave tomorrow, and there is still the mutant matter to discuss. That is High Inquisitor Lord Veritan. Basically, the Inquisition now has the Angel, and they have placed him underneath lock and key, somewhere. Now, as we don't know much, I can guarantee you one bloody thing for certain. Whatever security they have, it's not enough, because they don't have custodians guarding that motherfucker. But ladies and gentlemen, for now, that is the story of the Angel, the secret Primarch. As I said, this is some pretty old lore. GW hasn't touched it ever since it was first written in 2003, and many people often debate its canonicity. But now, we can talk more about this. More specifically, what this means for the future of the Angel. GW has been revisiting a lot of older lore, either incorporating it into the setting proper, or outright just ignoring it. A prime example we have are the Primarchs. Many people did not believe that Primarchs would ever come back, but lo and behold, they are indeed coming back. And with the conclusion of the Horus Heresy, many things that were long thought lost and hidden, are slowly being coming back into the light. And when you consider that this is something as important as the first creation of the Emperor, I can definitely imagine GW wanting to take a look at it. Maybe after they finish all the Primarchs. And this is very important, when you realize what the Angel thinks of the Emperor. This is a quote by the Emperor of what the Angel was supposed to be. From the darkness of time, I wake thee. For the radiance of your being I call thee. Blood calls, fire walks, and darkness rises. The time of the angel is once more at hand. Rise, my favorite son, and smite with the fire of purity. So the Emperor calls him his favorite son, granted he was the only son at the time. Another thing why we think that he's a Primarch. But regardless, the Emperor created the angel to be a champion. He created him to be something on a pedestal, the right hand of justice. Again, I reference him to the angel Saint Michael, the right hand of God. And you can see the comparison there. He was supposed to be the ultimate foe against any and all evil. Chaos specifically. And another reason why we think that the angel is in fact a proto-Primarch is because Big E did not know how to handle him. Instead of trying to talk to him, instead of trying to do anything, instead of literally any other option, Big E as always chooses the nuclear option and locks him in a bloody coffin. The angel is very upset about this. Not only does he hate humanity, he hates the Emperor. Because to him it's like, I did my job. I did my job right. I destroyed evil. Why did you imprison me for thousands of years? As always, Big E being the longest living human ever but having the worst communication skills will always bug me. But to say that the angel has a grudge against the Emperor and his Imperium is an understatement. Meaning that if the angel gets loose properly, it's not just humanity that's going to get destroyed. It's everything. Essentially, what was created to be the greatest weapon against chaos is actually now the greatest tool for chaos. So that is very bad. But as you remember, he was supposed to be sent to Terra. But then all of a sudden, he just disappeared. Sequestered away, one might say. Now, we don't know exactly, but when you consider that all this was happening during the Unification Wars and pre-Great Crusade, it's pretty plausible that when the angel was yeeted away was the same time that all the Primarchs were yeeted as well. Meaning that if we are going with the idea that this is a proto-Primarch, he would have been included in that, and just yeeted everywhere. I could imagine the Chaos Gods seeing this and being like, hey, here's something we could use. So what did they do? They hid it away. Because we know the Chaos Gods, they love to fuck with Big E, and they have no restraint whatsoever. So I can totally imagine them placing this thing somewhere there, waiting for the right time to unleash it. Or just waiting for humanity to do their dirty work for them, as is the Chaos way. And when you consider that now we have, lo and behold, the Inquisition having it. And as we said, the Inquisition has a lot of different characters. And the idea of an Inquisitor being corrupted by chaos is not a new phenomenon, let alone is it a rare phenomenon. If the angel awakes, he will not ally with chaos by any stretch of the imagination, but he could definitely be used as a tool to chaos, to weaken the Imperium. Also, what would he think about the Primarchs themselves? Would he see them as brothers? Would he see them as servants of the Emperor? And how would it work? Because we know that the Emperor's power is anathema to demons, but the angel is the Emperor's power. Meaning, would the Emperor's sword have any effect on him? How would it work? Would he have control over the Emperor's sword? Again, if we're going on the assumption he's the proto-Primarch, he's the strongest of all the Primarchs, period. Because while yes, a Primarch can indeed fight a greater demon or a demon prince, it's not exactly easy. And it's very much possible for said demonic entity to get one up on a Primarch. But every time that when the angel fought Fatogurtila, he wrecked his shit. He won. Convincingly. Again, with this, it definitely rings that hey, he's definitely at least more powerful than any other Primarch. So then all of a sudden, you have an entity that is stronger than all the Primarchs, and all of a sudden, may or may not be able to go toe-to-toe with the Emperor's weaponry. That is a scary, scary prospect, mind you. But to sum up the angel is a weapon of destruction made manifest. The Emperor created the angel with one purpose, to destroy. But that's the thing, he didn't add anything else to him. This would help explain why the later Primarchs are so emotionally unstable, or so complex for lack of a better word. The Emperor realized that with his proto-Primarch, he made it way too simple. But then he overcorrected. He made his regular Primarchs way too complicated. In combination with the Emperor not knowing how to handle them, he needed a final set, a final test to make the perfect Primarch. But as it is, the angel exists. The angel can be woken up, and if he gets unleashed, he will be destruction incarnate. A force that will eradicate all of humanity, and then continue an eternal crusade against the Chaos Gods themselves. Of all the things of Warhammer 40k, the Angel truly is the most biblical, the Angel of Vengeance, marching flaming feet and flaming sword, ready to destroy all the evil in the world and render vengeance unto all mankind. That's pretty badass, not gonna lie. I want the Angel to come back just for more artwork of him, bro. That's sick. I want a model. God, a model would be so good. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Let me know down below. What do you think about the Angel? Do you like it? Do you think that it should come back? Do you think that it should stay as this thing that's still canon but never touched again? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Sorry for the more shorter video this time around, but there's nothing much to talk about. I mean, it's only like a page or two of lore. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. But I want to say a massive thank you to you guys for watching, and even a more massive thank you to my awesome members and Patreons. Shout out to my Lieutenant tier members, Mr. Eddie V3, Mr. Major of the Void, and Mr. Curtis Studies. Shout out to my Sergeant tier members, Mr. Damiak, Mr. Warsmith.Fireheart, Mr. Andy McGee, Mr. Matthew Merrill, Mr. Sean IRL7, and Mr. Bullwin. Shout out to my Corporal tier members, Mr. Tremaine the Math Kitty, Mr. Lord Rosarius, Mr. Tech Priest Toaster, Miss Shauna Smithers, Mr. Gentle Salamander, and the Wench of Warhammer. And finally, certainly but not least, shout out to my awesome private tier members, Mr. Thomas Bose Lawns, Mr. Iva_SBW, Mr. Monkey Man, Mr. Michael Ayada, Mr. Diego Castro, Mr. Fortus Udom, Mr. CM Dine, Mr. Eric Massaro, and Mr. Dom Marek. Thank you, I love you, I appreciate you, you guys are amazing. Sign up today with our memberships to get a bunch of awesome benefits, early access videos, behind the scenes stuff, member only content, and you get to help out your boy and the channel. Remember, this will always be free, so whether you give your boy $1 or not, I will love you just the same. Mwah! But ladies and gentlemen, I've been the General Bradley 101. You've been beautiful, awesome, and amazing people. Thank you all so very much for watching. I'm gonna sure to say Lola there, boys and girls. And I will catch y'all next time. Dismiss, Rangers. Bro, you know if they bring back the Primarch, it's gonna be like a day or two before we get some NSFW Genderman fan art.